guys, it's Shay over here. Sorry for not posting anything last week. We were planning to do an Adventures with Miko episode, but things happened and we just didn't get to film anything. We're back this week with an awesome new video about my 2 bettas, yay! Today I'm going to show you how to create 2 planted betta habitats in a single tank. First, you want to start by purchasing a suitably sized tank. The minimum tank size requirement for a single betta is 2.5 gallons, but my personal recommendation is no less than 4 gallons. A 2.5 gallon honestly will not give you enough space to work with, so you probably won't be able to decorate it much. It is also harder to keep the water parameters stable, so there is no room for mistakes. This means you will be changing your water more often and checking your water parameters more often as well. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it. Because of my personal minimum requirements, I decided to go with a rimless 10 gallon that I picked up from a local fish store. Next, I made a DIY tank divider. I could not find a commercially made divider with good reviews, so I decided to take things into my own hands. Usually I'm rubbish with DIY, but this was really easy. I purchased craft mesh from an art supply store and report covers with sliding spines from the dollar store. I cut the mesh into the proper size and slid a report cover spine on either side to keep it straight and stable. I added 2 layers of mesh to make the divider stiffer and to make it harder for the bettas to see each other. After the divider was made, I began by adding the substrate to the tank. I'm using Seachem Fluorite Dark and Carib Sea Torpedo Beach. I wanted to make a mini landscape in the tank, which is why I chose 2 different substrates. The contrasting substrates naturally divide the areas where I will be adding the plants. I was trying to create a mini river type scene with the light sand. It also helped create a cohesiveness to the divided tanks. You can see in the video that I'm sloping a lot of the substrate on the sides near the dividers. This is to create more stability so that the divider does not move or fall over. The slopes of the substrate also create depth and allow you to play with the different levels of the tank. Once the substrate is in, add the hardscape. Because I'm only working with 4 to 5 gallons on each side, I chose to use 1 centerpiece for each tank. I'm using some rocks that I purchased at my local fish store. Make sure your rocks are inner, otherwise it may change your water parameters, which may lead to stress and sometimes even death of your fish. I put the rocks near the divider for even more stability. I usually find this part to take the longest. If you've decided on a hardscape, it's time to add plants. I prefer planted tanks because the plants help keep your water clean. I also just find that no artificial decoration looks as good as their natural counterparts. In this tank, I'm using dwarf hygrophilias and dwarf hairgrass. They're both relatively easy plants. Make sure that you have sufficient lighting and that you are fertilizing if you choose to go with more difficult plants. I don't have tweezers, so I'm using chopsticks, which is why I'm having difficulty planting all of these plants. With dwarf hairgrass, you want to split them up into small bunches and space them out away from each other. This allows for an even carpet to grow in. With the hygros, you won't have to be as picky, but usually planting each stem separately will be best. I added the hygros along the sides of the dividers to make it harder for the bettas to see each other. I'd suggest you do the same and add some tall plants to obscure the view, as some bettas will get stressed if they are constantly aware of the presence of another betta. Once you've added all the plants, it's time to add the water. Just a little warning to those who use fluorite. It makes the water really cloudy. It really does not matter how many times you rinse the substrate, it will still be super cloudy. I've had the best luck with taking dry fluorite and very slowly adding the water to the tank. Usually the dust settles much more quickly this way than if you try to rinse it and add it. After you've filled the tank with water, it's time to start your filter. Yay! Woo! In this tank, I'm running a Marina S15 on the larger side and an Azu Mignon 60 on the other. I'm using 2 filters to ensure that there is adequate water flow on either side.
Most plants like plenty of water flow, and the water flow oxygenates the tank and also keeps the yucky protein buildup on top to a minimum.
Once the filters were running, I left the tank alone overnight to let the water clear up. The next day, I added my 2 bettas. Make sure to acclimate, then go right ahead and add them to either side. Male bettas are solitary fish, so they do not usually get along with other males or even females. I also did not fill the tank to the rim for this very reason. Some bettas will divider jump and go to the other side of the tank, which will result in your bettas fighting. This can lead to serious injuries or even death. And that's pretty much it. Here's how the tank looks today. The water still needs to clear up a bit, but in a week or so, with frequent water changes, the tank should be crystal clear. Remember, a divided tank may not work for some bettas. Those that are extremely intolerant of other bettas or those that stress easily will probably not do well in a divided tank. Make sure you know your bettas and their personalities before attempting a divided tank. Yay! So that's it.
See you in the next episode.
See you next week. Bye-bye.